I'm so glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to keep more of what you make. Our web address, clark.com. When you have a question for me, clark.com/ask. Coming up in 20 minutes in today's Clarkrageous Moment, there's a big-time pitch in the marketplace being very heavily advertised and promoted that claims you can earn 10% on your money with no risk. Well, I'm going to tell you why that is a complete Clark Rage in just 20 minutes. A half hour from now, speaking of money, you want to send money to someone that used to be incredibly expensive. And for many people, it still is because they don't know all the ways to send money that cost almost nothing. I'm going to fill you in on where the marketplace is moving, where somebody needs money from you, you can send it to them in a snap. So our producer, Joel, is looking great.
Thanks, man.
Great haircut, Joel.
I appreciate that.
So you got that haircut how?
Well, I paid $0 for it.
$0?
$0.
So you let your young girl
yeah, my 3-year-old cut my hair. Then I would look ridiculous probably. So I am a part of this program that one of the major haircutting places has, that they're giving their employees advanced training. And while they're giving their employees advanced training, they need people's hair to cut to see how they're doing in the training. And so I signed up to be one of these guinea pigs to get the free haircuts.
I never expected you to be someone with a ponytail.
That would be rough. I can't do that.
No, you don't have a ponytail. Your haircut looks good.
And so we have the directions on Clark.com for folks to go find out where their local training center is so they can sign up for free haircuts as well. And I would say you'll get an email roughly once a month, and 4 to 5 days out of that month, they'll be offering the free haircuts, and you can sign up and hop on them for yourself.
For women, for salons, the salon chains, often particularly local chains, have training centers, and they provide not necessarily free styling and cut and color, but they offer heavily discounted styling and color and cut. And this is something that my oldest daughter has done for a number of years, and her hair looks fantastic, just a beautiful cut, going to a place where she pays a much lower price because there is a trainer there observing and, if necessary, assisting or intervening so that you don't end up with a horror movie result. But this is a way that if everybody tried to do it, it obviously wouldn't work, but most people will never do it. So if you're someone who is extra thrifty, getting the free haircut as a guy or getting the reduced rate, often for a woman, what a deal.
Have you tried to cut your own hair, Clark?
I have never tried to cut my own hair. There was a guy who used to be here at the studio who was absolutely obsessed with a device called the Flowbee. And he kept trying to get me in my TV work to have my hair cut live on the air with the Flowbee. And I just wasn't doing that.
So I tried it for a little bit at home. First, it's super messy.
The Flowbee or something else?
No, it's something else. Just one of those, like, with the guards and stuff. And it was really messy, so it was a pain to clean up. Not worth it. And I just couldn't get it to look quite the way I wanted it to either.
So just remember, you want to get into this cycle where you can potentially get a free cut? Go to clark.com and you'll see our briefing on how to sign up for the occasional invite. When you have a question for me on the Clark Howard Show, go to clark.com/ask. Sally's with us. Hello, Sally.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good now that I'm on the phone with you.
Oh, that's very sweet, Sally. But let's hope that it's a sweet experience, that I actually give you some useful advice.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you will. This is about one of those dreaded variable whole life policies that I purchased back in the 70s, okay, when I was very young.
So
anyway.
it would have been probably just a straight variable life policy.
Right, yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Okay.
And at some point, the monthly payments were supposed to phase out, which that never happened. But I had this big idea that what if I dumped that policy and instead of paying those monthly payments to them, use that money to buy a better term life policy. But what happens to my cash value?
Well, there are lots of things. One, you may have a big tax problem doing it. And depending on the penalties in the policy, you could end up with a debt to the insurance company possibly as well.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the variable life insurance and variable universal life insurance policies have blown up on people like you cannot imagine.
Oh, boy.
So I got an assignment for you.
Okay.
There's an organization called the Consumer Federation of America.
Consumer Federation of America, okay.
And they will, for $80, they will take your policy apart with a fine-tooth comb, go through it, and they will give you, in plain English, a written explanation about whether you should keep the policy, dump it, or do something else with it, because there are even steps between keep and dump.
Okay.
It is the best $80 you could ever spend on this thing.
Okay.
Because what you bought was known under the marketing name Vanishing Premium Insurance.
Yeah, that's it.
And when Vanishing Premium Insurance was all the rage, they promoted it that the way this is going to work is just absolutely great, Sally. You're going to pay these premiums for 7 years or 10 years or 12 years, and then like magic, the policy is going to take on a life of its own, and it's going to fund itself.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was told. Are you sure you didn't sell me this policy?
I think it was me. No, so that was the pitch. It was just a big fat lie, and nowhere in your contract, anywhere, does it promise it, but the salespeople, I don't know if you know this, insurance people are not under what's known as fiduciary duty, which means a life insurance salesperson is allowed to tell you just about any fish story. And if you look at an insurance contract, it will say the only representations that matter are those that are in the contract itself. So the big pitch that oversold a lot of life insurance in the 70s and 80s was this lie of the vanishing premium.
Okay.
And so once you were in it and suddenly it didn't vanish, it was like, oh, your problem. So now you got to know the solution. Now I got a website for you. You ready?
Yes.
It's evaluatelifeinsurance.org.
Okay.
And you'll see all the scoop from the Consumer Federation of America, what they'll do, what paperwork they're going to want you to get from the insurance company.
Okay.
And the insurance company must supply it to you.
Okay, so that's evaluatelifeinsurance.org.
That is it.
All right, great.
Okay.
I'll do it.
Well, good luck, and I'm sorry you got ripped off on that thing.
I didn't listen to you back in the 70s. I don't even know if you were around back then, Clark.
Well, I was alive, but I wasn't doing radio then.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks so much.
Thanks. You take care. Now, I went on the radio in 1987 is the first year I was on the air. Our number is 877-87-CLARK, and Tim is with us. Hello, Tim.
Hello, how are you?
Great, thank you. Tim, you got beef with your auto insurer. Is that true?
Yes.
What have they done to you, Tim?
They decided to crank up my rates by $142 a month.
The increase is $142 a month?
Yep. No accidents, no tickets.
Did you buy a new car that put you in a high-risk category?
No, I've had this car, and they just decided that it's a high-tier, high-risk vehicle.
Wow. All right. How old are you?
I'll be 40 in about a month.
Okay. All right. So they're not picking on you because you're young. They're not picking on you because of accidents or tickets. They're just picking on you because you are driving a car that has a lot of horses under the hood.
No, it doesn't even have that. It's a little. So basically, it's a four-door sedan. It doesn't have a lot of horses. It's not a sports car.
Tim,
a regular four-door sedan.
Tim, you've got to go shop your auto insurance.
I have. I've called like 15 different companies.
And they're all giving you like astronomical premiums?
They're giving me some pretty hefty premiums, yes.
How you said it went up $142 a month. How much is it total per month?
$272.
$272 a month for one car?
Oh no, I've got 3 vehicles, but I was paying $126 for 3 vehicles, but because I own this one vehicle, it increased by $142 just because I own that vehicle.
And everybody's telling you the same thing.
Yeah, they've been kind of giving me the same. Yeah, it's been ranging from $250 basically a month to as high as $400 or $500.
All right, there's something I want you to do because there could be something else going on that people aren't telling you. I want you to go to a website called choicetrust.com. choicetrust.com.
Okay.
And when you get there, I want you to click on your clue report.
Okay.
What the clue report is it's going to be a report on what insurers think about you. Because I don't care what they're telling you. I'm worried that you need to look at your Clue Auto report, which is free to do.
Right.
And see if there's something there that maybe is a mistake or who knows what, because that is an astronomical increase because you said you've had this car for years, right?
4 years.
So it's not
I've had the same
related.
company for 4 years.
It's not related to the car. Did anybody tell you anything that they were raising your rates because of your credit score?
No, they told me specifically. They said that my vehicle was increased to a high tier, basically the same level as the sports cars, the 2-door sports cars, because it takes a lot of damage when it gets hit.
Well, I'll tell you a little story. When my wife, when she was much younger and she was under age 25, when people got clobbered anyway, had a car that hasn't been made in recent years called a Ford Probe. And the Probe, which is not a fast car, was one that had a very, very high claims rate. And it had an F on claims from one of the insurance services that rates cars in terms of claims history. And her insurance was just through the roof. And when she sold that car and got another one, her insurance rates went way, way, way down. So I guess it is possible that the car you have is one that just has a bad history and that you're getting punished for it. But at the very least, look at your Clue report and see what you can see there, because, I mean, those premiums are so huge that, I mean, you're talking about something that's almost worth dumping and buying another 4-year-old car that they're not going to stick it to you on. Now, it doesn't work mathematically if it turns out it's just because of the car you have. It doesn't work to dump it and then buy a new car, because what you'll pay for the new car is so much that you're going to end up paying more than you would just for paying for the insurance. But if you, like for like, get rid of a 4-year-old car and buy another 4-year-old car that they're not going to stick it to you on, that would be a way to get around this. But please look at your Clue Auto report. Let's see if there's some mystery you can unlock there. It's time for today's Clark-rageous moment, and this Clark-rageous moment is something that has had me steaming with a false promise, really a big fat lie, that you without risk can make a huge return on your money.
Scams, ripoffs, outrages. It's a Clark-rageous moment.
Wow, it's all over the place right now on the web. There are ads popping up in a whole bunch of media sources. There are endorsers out there pitching the pitching the false promise that you can earn 10% on your money in a can't-lose investment. And the story is you're being promised that without any risk at all, you buy their plan and you'll make 10% on your money. What is their secret plan that outkicks any other safe investment that exists in the United States of America? Well, what a surprise. It's life insurance. What a big, fat, outrageous lie. Life insurers right now are having trouble generating a 2% return for life insurance customers. 2%. The promise of 10% is ludicrous, outrageous, and absolutely harmful. You need to know this. Anytime somebody promises you an outsized return and at the same time promotes it as being without risk to you, you know you're going to get hurt. And the reality that when somebody promises that they have the corner on a formula for you to do whatever it is, and they're the only ones who know how to do it, you know you need to run, and run fast and run hard the other way. This promise is completely, totally Clark-rageous.
Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans proudly supports this podcast. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage approval process into the 21st century. It's fast, powerful, and completely online. You see, Rocket Mortgage has taken all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage out of the equation. Hate searching through stacks of old files and paperwork? Well, with Rocket Mortgage, you can easily share your bank statements and pay stubs at the touch of a button. It helps you get approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your unique financial situation. Even better, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do all of this on your phone or tablet. It's a quick online process that you can manage from the convenience of your couch. So if you're looking to refinance your mortgage or buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/save. That's quickenloans.com/SAVE. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to save more and spend less, and don't let anybody ever rip you off. You can follow me at facebook.com/Clark Howard, our web address, clark.com. You got a question? Well, you can go to clark.com/ask and post it. You also have the ability to get advice off the air from a member of our team 9 hours a weekday. Think about that, 45 hours a week. We are at your service with free off-the-air advice. Go to clark.com. You'll see how to call in and the hours we are available. There's something that has been so inefficient in our economic system in the United States and incredibly expensive till now. And that is the ability for you to move money from yourself to someone else, either here in the United States or overseas. The nation's banks have been caught completely flat-footed and have been just a joke about any effort or attempt for you to be able to move money or send money to someone. And there's something that I talked about when it was first in beta that is now booming, called Transferwise. Check out Transferwise.com if you ever need to send money to someone outside the United States. Transferwise charges, it's a tenth of what has been typical in the foreign transfer business. So if you have, let's say, a relative traveling overseas, or you have a friend or family member who lives overseas, and you want to send them money, in the past, sending the money has meant that a huge chunk of the money you're sending gets taken by third parties. But now with Transferwise, you can send money at pretty much banker's buying rate, which is the market price on money, plus 1%. If you're sending a real small amount of money, you'll pay $3 as a minimum to send the money. But it is a very, very efficient way for you to move money into a foreign currency. You can go to the website and they'll show you, I want to send this much money to this country, and this is what it'll cost me in U.S. dollars. And good for them. You know, one of the common uses of this is if somebody's pickpocketed overseas and they have no money suddenly, and you're able to send money to your family member very efficiently, cheaply, quickly with Transferwise. And they are, as best I know, the lowest cost to send. PayPal also has the ability now at low cost to send money any of a number of places overseas also. In addition, Venmo came up on the show recently. Somebody was asking about Venmo, Venmo, which is a service where you can pay each other. Let's say my favorite example is where you are able to, let's say, split a check with other people. You pay the bill, and then they send you money by Venmo instantly for free. Square, the people that offer the Square Up thing for companies to take payments, like credit cards, stuff like that, they have a thing called Square Cash, where you can send money to other people for free. And these things just work. So if you have been doing things the old-fashioned way, going to some storefront to send somebody money, or you've been doing the worst thing of all, going to a bank to send money from one person to another, know about Transferwise for international and Venmo and Square Cash for sending money domestically, sending money within the United States. Forget the grammar part. And all you're going to do is save money. Sheila is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Sheila.
Hello, sir. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, thank you. Hope your life is great.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So you got a question for your daughter.
Yes, she's in college, and she needs a vehicle because I can no longer keep taking her everywhere.
So you're tired of being the carpool mom?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. How can I be of help with that?
Well, I'm looking for a used car. We're saving up money. She does have a part-time job, and for her birthday, I literally gave her an Excel spreadsheet, and I showed her where if she saved up X amount of dollars a month, and if I match that at a certain percentage, and that's pretty much where we're at. We're saving money, and we want to see if we can buy a used, maybe Toyota or Honda or something that, reliable car that she can, get around in, some type of reliable car.
And how much money is likely to be in that July budget?
We should be at $4,000, pretty close to $4,000.
Okay. So likely not a Honda or a Toyota because they depreciate relatively slowly. One brand that I'm actually going to give you two brands that have proven to be roughly equivalent reliability overall and depreciate quicker. Mazda and Nissan.
All right.
So you still get if you're thinking Japanese and reliability, you're still in that same wheelhouse. And as an example, you take something like the Nissan Altima, which is a very successful selling car. It depreciates a lot quicker than the equivalent Toyota Camry, Corolla, Accord, or Civic.
So what that will allow me to afford it. That'll put in the price range that I'm looking for.
That's the idea. And then with Mazda, the Mazda 6 or Mazda 3, both might have enough age on them. Older ones you could get in that price range. But that's just general because then specifically you have to have them checked by a mechanic before you buy one to make sure they're okay.
Very good.
Anytime you go to buy a used car and the seller won't let you have it checked out by a mechanic, is a condition of buying, you know not to buy there because they're trying to pull one over on you.
Okay, very good.
Next thing is that when I was at the Consumer Reports test track last year, one thing that they made me a believer on in that test track, I think my heart is still sitting on that test track, is do not buy her a car unless it has electronic stability control.
All right.
That is electronic stability control is you get older in cars. Today, they'll all have it. But as you get older in cars, it'll vary from model to model if they have electronic stability control.
Very good.
But it's something that is a feature on a car that it alone could be the difference between life, injury, and death in a car.
Right.
It's phenomenal what it does. It takes over. A younger driver tends to oversteer when they're trying to avoid trouble.
Okay.
And that's why you have so many rollover accidents with a younger driver. The electronic stability control essentially takes the power of the steering wheel away from the driver and keeps the car upright.
Wow. Okay.
So it's an extraordinary function. And speaking of Consumer Reports, it'd be great to go to the library or buy one-time access to see their list of recommended to buy used cars by model year and specific model, and then the ones to avoid.
All right.
And that'll really help you, but the mechanic, essential.
Very good.
Well, good luck with your shopping.
Well, thank you, sir. You're so kind. I really appreciate all your help. Thank you so much.
All right, you take care. And Neil is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Neil.
Hey, Clark. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you, Neil. You are frozen.
Well, Clark, I had a birthday yesterday and received a present I wasn't really that happy with.
Tell me.
I found out that our company has decided to terminate our pension plan.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, this, for quite a while now, has not been our primary retirement vehicle. We also have an employee stock ownership program, which is what the company uses as its primary retirement vehicle for us. But when I joined the company 16 years ago, we did also have a pension plan. Several years ago, the plan was frozen, and our benefit was capped at that time, and no new employees were allowed to enter the plan. Well, now they've decided to terminate the plan. And my question to you is, they've given us, or are going to give us, one of two options, either to take a one-time payout or to take what they're calling a qualified joint and survivor annuity. And I've heard you in the past not being very fond of annuities.
But this is a different thing. And almost always with a terminated pension plan, it is a superior choice to take the joint and survivor, the joint annuity with the survivor benefit for life. And, okay, now I got a mortality question for you. In your family versus your wife's family, who historically has lived the longest of, like, parents, grandparents, that kind of thing?
I think we're running kind of about even, although my wife does have a medical condition, and in most likelihood, I will probably outlive her.
Okay. Thank you. I know that's a difficult question for me to ask, and I appreciate the answer because you have an option of accepting a lower benefit in return for having 100% for her if she survives you. But most times the primary option is 100 for you, 50% for her if she survives you. And in your circumstance, you'd be better off 150.
Okay. And you feel that doing this annuity would be a better option?
Almost always, that's the better answer than the lump sum. It's very difficult to invest the lump sum where you'll get a similar stream of income over a lifetime.
Oh, okay.
That's why. Now, you talk to any commission-based salesperson, they're going to push you to cash out because they want to get their clutches on the money. But almost always, it's better for you to essentially annuitize that benefit.
Gotcha.
All right. So there is something, though, I could recommend because this is a one-time option. You have to make a decision.
Right.
And that is you go to a fee-only planner to run the calculation on the exact pension opportunity you're being offered versus taking a lump sum, and they can run the numbers and tell you which is best.
Oh, okay.
And so if you go to Garrett Planning Network, you can hire somebody on an hourly rate to evaluate the specific offer on the table for you. Be money well spent on your part for peace of mind. When you have a question for me on the Clark Howard Show, go to clark.com/ask. Jimmy joins us. Hello, Jimmy. How rich are you going to be?
Well, $150,000.
And how did you win your $150,000?
Well, they sent me a check for $4,000 in the mail by a sweepstakes from the UK, and they said that that was for the tax purposes, so not to keep it kind of quiet, not to keep it confidential. And just to call that.
Jimmy, I got to tell you, the people that are trying to con you are sending the biggest pile of manure your way they possibly could. The reason they didn't want you to mention it to anybody is they're trying to steal your money.
Yes. Yeah, I took it to my local authorities right away, and I wanted to let everybody know out there that, about this scam.
Now, who was it who alerted you that this sweepstakes check was totally bogus? Was it your bank, or was it the police, or who was it who said, hey, Jimmy, this thing's totally phony?
Well, really, it's by listening to your show. I listen to your show every day, so that's pretty much where I got the idea. And I went to the police station. They told me, well, they've been getting these left and right. Like, I guess everybody here in town is rich now.
Everybody's won the lottery. And which country's lottery was it you supposedly won?
The UK?
The UK. Yeah. The UK's so broke right now, they don't have money to be giving anybody. So this check, it's basically a piece of wallpaper to you. And don't have any contact with the criminals at all.
Yeah, they made it look so real.
I know. That's why they keep doing this, because they keep finding people who don't know about this phony baloney thing. For people who don't know, you deposit that check, you wire back some money to them to pay tax, then the check bounces, you're out the money you wired. And Robert wants to go to Alaska.
Yes.
I love wandering around Alaska.
Yeah, it'll be my first trip. My question, Clark, is I've accumulated a lot of points on one of my major credit cards, these reward points.
Are they American Express membership miles or another card?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, because American Express membership miles, that's a great way for you to use those miles to convert to take your air flights to Alaska.
Okay, and my question is, should I book the flight through American Express directly, or should I just get the gift cards?
Oh, no. Do it through the American Express program directly.
Oh, okay.
Definitely. And with membership miles, you may have an opportunity to transfer them to one of the airline participating partners where you've already checked and there are seats available.
Okay.
So if you transfer to one of the membership miles participating airlines before you know there are seats available, you're going to feel like, what did I do? But if you do it in reverse order and there are seats that you're holding pending, they give you a certain amount of days or whatever it is to fund the tickets with the miles. You just transfer them over. You link the American Express membership miles to the airline program. Bam, the transfers usually happen in under 30 seconds.
Okay.
And one thing I'll encourage you, if you have enough miles, the way the mileage programs work for domestic tickets, redeem for first class to Alaska rather than coach. Many times it's easier to get the first class seats to Alaska, and it doesn't require that many more miles than coach, and the flight experience is completely different on that long a flight. Have a great time.
There's something about TrueCar that a lot of people don't even know. Here it is. Using TrueCar can also help you buy a used car. That's right. In fact, there are over 500,000 pre-owned vehicles available from TrueCar's certified dealers nationwide. So whether you're looking to buy a brand new car or a used car, you can get all the upfront pricing information that empowers you. You can also get discounts off the list price for used cars and a totally better buying experience through the TrueCar certified dealer network. That's where you see what other people paid for the car that you want, so you know you're getting a fair price and you can feel confident. And with TrueCar, you connect with a local certified dealer of your choice, so you can enjoy a quick, easy buying experience. You can use the TrueCar website or the TrueCar app, so it's easy to find the new or used car that you want. You just take your guaranteed savings certificate to a TrueCar certified dealer, and you'll save money on that used car. And if you're buying new, the average TrueCar user saves $3,279 off MSRP. Over 2 million people have already bought their cars through the TrueCar certified dealer network. So if you're ready to buy a new or used car, visit TrueCar.com or take it with you by downloading the TrueCar app and enjoy a better car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states.
I'm so glad you're tuning in now to the Clark Howard Show. I love the opportunity to visit with you each day and talk about ways that we can empower together with more knowledge so that you can take better control of your wallet and your future. We serve you at Clark.com. When you have a question for me, Clark.com/ask. In addition, at Clark.com, we have our community section. We talk about ways you can get involved in the community, activities that are very important to me. I love for us to volunteer to help our communities and our fellow Americans. In addition, I like for you to volunteer info for me and for your fellow listener. That's why we have, if you go to the community section, we have our message boards where you can give each other guidance and ask questions about cars, housing, investments, insurance, travel. There's a general discussion for things not covered in one of the topic areas. And then there's something called Clark Stinks. It's where if you feel that the information I'm supplying, what I've said to somebody, my opinions are out of line or lame or wrong, I want you to give me that feedback. I need it. I need to hear from you how I can do a better job serving you. Once a week, our producer, Krista, goes through the posts on Clark Stinks and reads highlights from your posts right here on the air.
I should have never encouraged you to speak.
You must think I'm pretty stupid.
You should be ashamed of yourself. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe you're right, pal.
I got to tell you something, Krista, before you start today. Mm-hmm. Do you know there's never a week that goes by that somebody doesn't come up and they're kind of nervously giggling or laughing and saying that this is by far their favorite segment of our show?
It's your favorite segment, I think. You seem to enjoy people criticizing you.
Well, I love it because how do you grow? You know, when you've been doing this as long as I have, you tend to fall into patterns and habits. And people really make me think through what I'm doing and how I'm giving advice through these posts.
All right. Just don't call you Mr. Howard.
Please don't.
Hi, Clark. This isn't so much a stink, but a suggestion. I often hear you struggle with callers that are hesitant to open 529 accounts for kids because they're not sure they'll need it for college. Have you considered suggesting that they set money aside in a regular savings or money market account so that when their kids get their first jobs, many start working in part-time in high school, they can give them the money at that time to help them open their first Roth accounts? Just a thought.
That's a great idea. No one has ever made that suggestion. And if your family's culture is one where teenagers will be working, starting like in my family, both my daughters had to start working at age 15. If that's the culture in your family, the kids are going to have to work before they go off to school, that is a brilliant idea to put money into savings or CDs, and then when the kid starts working, they'll have earned income. They'll be eligible for a Roth. The money is moved into a Roth. I love that.
Hi, Clark. I love your show. It is generally the only show that I'm aware of which tries to look out for the interests of its viewers rather than just looking for an angle to boost ratings. However, you are not always correct with your advice. The smelly advice which you've given to people has to do with people's retirement accounts. Don't do nothing with your funds. Just let them ride the tide because don't do anything with your funds. Just let them ride the tide because there are 15 to 30 years before retirement, you say. This advice is common among stockbrokers and those who manage 401k accounts. I've seen from friends who have lost many thousands of dollars using the hold method because they say they don't know much about stocks. There's no logic in losing that kind of money in poor economic times. One works hard for that money, and when it's not working for you, change is needed. I have helped people limit their losses and make more money than hold it for the next 15 to 30 years. It's not hard, and you don't have to be the world's smartest person to figure it out. Last year, Wall Street didn't do that well. My 401k funds lost 6 to 12% because Wall Street thinks expensive oil is better when it comes to investing. I had my lump sum in a fixed income, which made 0.05% for the whole year. While it's not a fund I would keep my lump sum in long term, I was able to ride out a 6 to 12% loss. This year, my funds are up 5%, mostly in stocks. It was as high as 7% a few weeks back. Contributions are another story. Contributions could be used to buy stock in good times or bad. It doesn't matter. Once Wall Street picks up a bit like it had this year, you'd put your lump sum back into the mix. You don't have to be exact on when Wall Street goes up or down. These are funds, not regular stocks. I generally don't move my lump sum very much. Usually twice a year is good, depending upon the market. The most I ever moved my funds was 4 times in a year. When the housing market crashed, I lost $1,000, which is the first for me before I moved my funds out of the stock market. A year later, I'd move them again, and my increase for the year was well beyond the loss from the previous year. This method has saved me money, has saved others money, and there's no reason to take huge losses because you have 15 to 30 years before you retire. Make your money work for you more. Thanks for listening, Clark.
Krista, that was nice of you to post that.
I wouldn't. No, you know that's something I would say.
I'm teasing. So here's my thing on that. I appreciate that you are making, for your situation, at least to this point, you have made it work for you to market time. I have never been able to make that work where you strategize is the best time to get out, the best time to get back in. And if you're able to make that work over your entire accumulation time before retirement, I just got to tip my hat to you. I find that for most people, it's better to ride the ups and downs because there are more ups than downs, and you don't know exactly when the market's going to turn, and you might miss some of the big days up that would be so key to your long-term financial security. Just my opinion.
My jaw dropped as you asked the college student who was saving money if he had been, quote, dropped on his head as a child. As the father of a traumatic brain injury, TBI survivor, I was floored that you would use a TBI as a joke or as a setup for a funny line. I've been listening to you for many years, and I know this would never have been your intention. However, it is something that should never be joked about in that way. According to the CDC, in 2010, about 2.5 million emergency department visits, hospitalizations, or deaths were associated with TBI, either alone or in combination with other injuries in the United States. From 2006 to 10, falls were the leading cause of TBI, accounting for 40% of all TBIs in the U.S. that resulted in an emergency room visit, hospitalization, or death. Falls disproportionately affect the youngest and oldest age groups. More than half of TBIs among children 0 to 14 years were caused by falls. Thanks, Clark. Chris.
Chris, I am so sorry. I did not mean to offend in any way. I was trying to make a point, and if it was tasteless and insensitive, I apologize for that.
Clark had a nice monologue about how 3D printers are going to change the world. He is correct in his theory, but wrong in his example. As a pilot for over 20 years, I can say that the FAA is not going to readily adopt printed parts, even if they are better. All parts for aircraft have to be documented and approved chain of custody from manufacturer to installation to removal. The FAA is very aggressive in pursuing non-approved parts on aircraft. While there is a recent new tone with the FAA adopting safety-enhancing technologies with less onerous regulations, I personally think we will see flying cars a la the Jetsons before we will see 3D printed airplane parts on certified airplanes.
I have to defer to the expertise of the pilot on that. And I think that even if it's not going to happen under the jurisdiction of the FAA, 3D printed parts will become common, particularly in more remote parts of the world where having spare parts available is such a serious problem in the airline business.
Hi, Clark. Often you enter into a conversation with a caller about some practice going on in a specific state. For some reason, you refrain from naming the state. I cannot imagine why this is a state secret. In quotes, that's pretty funny. It can only be more helpful to know which state you're referring to and whether or not something applies to me in my state. Thanks, love your show. Who will ever replace you when you retire? It may not be today nor tomorrow, but it will happen someday, and I, for one, will miss your daily oration. Thanks, Bill Gardner from Shh, It's a State Secret. Ha ha ha, California.
You know, there's a funny thing about when I talk about a state when I don't, is that if advice is general advice, but there may be a particular wrinkle in a state, that's why I'll just say, well, in your state, blah, blah, blah. But I think you're right that there are a lot more circumstances where I should just name the state involved. The thing I don't want to do is I don't want people to think, oh, well, this isn't going to apply to me because that's only in California. And it's not an only. It's just sometimes I'll give a general answer and something that's a specific wrinkle for the place they're calling from, whatever that state is.
You misstated that retailers do not allow happiness returns. This is on mattress returns. Many do, including most of the chains. The one I'm associated with has 2 large stores and will allow a mattress return up to 100 days after purchase, no questions asked. Do your research before throwing hardworking retail mattress salespeople under the bus. The following manufacturers allow the returns and support the retailer in this: Tempur-Pedic, Sealy, Serta, and others. Also, Clark, you stated that gel in a mattress will keep you cool. It does not. Don't believe me, lay down on a sheet of plastic for a while. While gel does not breathe, mattresses are designed to flow air through them. The coolest mattress made is Tempur-Pedic Breeze.
Thank you for that post. And if there are traditional retail stores that sell mattress stores that allow for a full unconditional refund for roughly a 3-month period, I stand corrected because I was not aware of that.
You should not eat your premium Haagen-Dazs ice cream while on the air. You are getting a brain freeze and just missed the mark. A lady called in trying to sell her Harley motorcycle. She told you she had priced the bike to what Kelley Blue Book said. You asked her if she looked on eBay Motors. She said they were priced about the same. What you should have done is asked her to look at the completed listings. The ones with green numbers are the listings that have sold. She might have found out that she might have been overpricing the bike. Keep up the great work. I have learned a lot and saved a lot of money by listening. Keith.
Keith, that's a great suggestion because so often when people are selling a vehicle of any kind, particularly something like a motorcycle or a recreational vehicle, where it is an optional purchase, unlike many times a car is not optional, the price gap between what somebody asks and what they get can be pretty large, and that is a great idea.
Hi, Clark. I hear it so many times from you. For example, unless you make huge money or the fees on universal life insurance are huge. They don't like the way you use the word huge so much. Please be more specific. Like, unless you make more than $80,000 annually, this program is not for you. The fee that the insurance agent collects is 10% of your contribution. It would be most helpful to the listeners.
Thank you, Ari. So the thing with whole life, I don't like variable universal life or universal life for anybody. But for whole life, which does apply to some people, usually you need to be someone making what huge would be somewhere $375,000 a year or more, which is a tiny, tiny, tiny sliver of the American people.
Clark's sound effects stink. The cow mooing and the bomb whistling and all the rest. There are some awfully cheesy sound effects for a nationally syndicated radio show in the 21st century. Come on, Clark, splurge a little and pick up some new ones next time you're in Dollar Tree.
Well, Joel, that's on you, isn't it? I mean,
I guess I got to take responsibility.
So, are our sound effects dull? Because people comment on them all the time.
I think they're cute, personally.
Well, why don't you come up with some jazzed ones? Some ones that are really all amped up, and we'll see if people like those. We can even have a ballot where people decide.
More to pick from. Always a good idea.
Right. I appreciate all your posts. If there's something you feel I can do that makes me do this job better to serve you, please go to Clark.com, go to our community section, then onto our discussion boards, and go to Clark Stinks and let me know. Dave is with us. Hello, Dave.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Clark. How are you?
Good, thank you. You have a car that is not behaving itself right now.
It's got a documented problem where you're driving along and all of a sudden the power steering just goes out.
Wow.
If you stop the car and restart it, the power steering comes back on and may go for 10 miles, might go for 100. But as I'm driving right now, it's off.
So how much danger are you in from that? Is it a serious safety issue, or is it not one? Is it an inconvenience, or is your life in danger?
For me, it's more of an inconvenience. I can see it would be a weaker individual. It would be. It's hard to steer, but I mean, like on the highway, you're fine. But there have been some accidents documented because of it, and I believe there's even been one fatality.
All right, things that involve steering and braking are the most serious things that can happen with a car in terms of having an accident or a fatality resulting. How many miles do you have on it?
I've got 73,000, so I'm out of warranty.
Right. How much is the cost of the repair that is recommended for the problem with the power steering?
About $900.
Is the automaker willing to cover part or a major portion of that?
They're willing to do 50%.
All right. Now, at first glance, that's not bad. But in a case that involves a serious safety issue like steering, I don't know that half is generous enough. Have you met with the factory zone rep at your dealer, or is this over the customer no service phone line?
It's over the customer no service phone line.
All right. Call the, do you still live in the area where you bought the vehicle?
Yes.
Talk to if it's an independently owned dealership, talk to the general manager or owner of the dealership. If it's a chain location, you want to talk to the general manager. Now, also, this is not as yet a recall?
Not yet. It's still under investigation.
All right. Have you filed a complaint with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration?
No, I haven't.
That's something I'd like you to do. The website is nhtsa.gov. All you need is some critical mass of people complaining about this steering, and there will be a recall. And at that point, the automaker should cover any money that you had to lay out.
Here's an important question for you. Are you looking for a way where you can save money, have a little fun, and get yourself back into shape? Of course you are. Everybody is. Well, look no further than Evelo electric bicycles. That's right, electric bicycles. Don, a happy Evelo customer from Missouri, just bought one of them, and he's already gone 900 miles in just 2 months. He rides it to work, he rides it on weekends, he takes it out on errands, and he uses the powerful electric motor to conquer all the steep hills, and he never arrives sweaty. Here's what Don had to say. The bike has been amazing. I'm pleased with how much I've been able to incorporate it into my everyday life. It's recreation, grocery shopping, and the biggest one of all, commuting. Seriously, just think about how much money he's already saved by not fueling up his car every day, and all the health benefits because he's outside riding a bicycle. He pedals when he's comfortable, and then he sits back when he wants the motor to kick in. Sounds pretty good, huh? Well, there's more good news for you, because just because you're a listener of this podcast, Evelo has a special offer for you. You can get $150 off any Evelo e-bike, plus you get free pannier bags and a bonus extended warranty. You can check them out right now at evelo.com/podcast. That's evelo.com/podcast. And the next time you're gliding uphill, think about this podcast.
Stay tuned for 60 seconds of AP News headlines right after this podcast.
Glad you're with us on the Clark Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to keep more of what you make. On the web, Clark.com. You got a question for me, Clark.com/ask. It's time for a ripoff alert. I need to make you very aware as we move closer to the prime gift card buying and giving season. There are scams proliferating big time.
Ripoff Alert. Ripoff Alert. This is a Clark Howard Ripoff Alert.
You go to Craigslist right now, you go to eBay, any other selling site, you will see massive numbers of listings for gift cards. And people selling gift cards at a discount. I'm looking right now, here's gift cards 30% off, gift card 20% off, all well-known and recognized branded gift cards. And the problem, at both sides of this transaction, people are getting cheated. A lot of the gift cards that people are selling on the various sites like Craigslist, you may, when you get the gift card at the discount, you may have just what they promised. $100 worth of purchasing at a store or restaurant or whatever for $75, and you're like, great, this worked out great for me. And then 2 hours later, the card's emptied. You got to know who you're dealing with. Because, believe it or not, according to the FBI, there are crooks that are selling valid gift cards, having already captured the information from the card. They sell you the card, and then once it's sold and they have your money, they then empty the card. You don't know who they are, where they are, how to find them. You're out the money. And you have no way of proving that they're the ones that emptied the card. It's terrible, right? And often you will buy a gift card and it will be bad from the very beginning. The FBI also wants you to know that there's a terrible problem with people asking to be paid by gift cards by you when they're selling you something, and you pay them with the gift cards, or they could be prepaid cards, and then you end up with the merchandise never coming your way. And there are the third-party sites that this is what they specialize in. They specialize in playing match game with gift cards. We have a list of them at Clark.com. And when you buy from one of those, there's a guarantee that the card you buy is going to be a real card. The discounts aren't going to be anything like the discounts you'll see on Craigslist or eBay or other sites. They're going to be much smaller discounts. And if you're trying to sell a gift card, what you're going to make from it is not going to be as great potentially, because the sites that do the match game, they make their money on the spread between what they pay you and what somebody pays them. But I'll tell you, you don't want to end up laying out real money thinking you're getting a deal, and what you end up with is a big fat nothing. Millie is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hello, Millie.
Hello, Clark.
So you have an inquiring mind kind of question.
Yes, I do. My husband and I have been getting these mail solicitations regarding Mountain View lots and lakefront or Lakeview lots, the properties that are, you have one day to decide if you want to purchase this lot or property.
And they say unbelievable things, like the lots were $119,000 and now they're $9,995 and things like that, right?
That's right. That's correct.
How do I know that? Because I was out of town, went through the mail last night, and I had 6 of those color, they're like postcardy, but big postcard, colorful things, all touting either mountain or lake property.
Right.
And from different promoters. All right, so what happened was during the real estate bust, hedge funds and other what are known as vulture investors came in and bought these failed resort developments at mountains and lakes all over the country. And they paid pennies on the dollar. They've been waiting for enough recovery in the economy and in the second home community kind of thing to turn around and make big money selling them back in the marketplace. Now, the original prices, Millie, that are listed on those flyers, maybe one person paid those kind of prices during the real estate bubble, but the reason all those developments failed was they were uneconomic to start with. Likely not the most desirable mountain properties, most desirable lake lots, and all the rest. So don't believe any of that stuff about was and is.
Okay. So the question is, are these legitimate claims on here other than the pricing? I mean, you
don't want to buy raw land at one of these properties.
Okay.
Here's why.
Okay.
Because you're creating an obligation with ongoing association dues, likely, taxes. You don't know what kind of costs you would incur, or even if a particular lot you would buy would be truly a buildable lot. You might not be able to, if there's a permitting process in the community, you may not be able to permit. If there's not a permit process, you may not be able to PERT test. You know what that is?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask you, yes.
So my thing with taking advantage of the slump that continues in second home communities is that if that's really appealing to you, you buy a place that actually has a place on it. You know, a cabin, a house, whatever it is, where you're buying actual real property, not a lot that may just be something that you're like, why did we think that was a good idea?
Okay. All right.
And some of the offers that come in will have, because they know people are becoming more savvy about that, they may even have something on there about, and you can build this home here for $60,000 or whatever. I don't know if you saw any of those kind.
I'm sure we have. We've received many of these things.
But don't believe that either. Because, again, for me, the house needs to be sitting there, and that's what you're buying is the property with the house that's there, and not a piece of raw land that may end up being a raw deal.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the information.
Sure. And the hedgies are going to make their money. The bottom fishers are going to make their money. There are going to be enough people that will buy those lots at big markups from what the Wall Street crowd bought those failed developments at. But don't help them out. You don't need to give welfare to the Wall Street crowd. Kevin is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Kevin.
How you doing, Clark?
Great, thanks. You want to be an Uber driver?
Yeah, so I was just thinking about it. I'm in between jobs, and I'm just looking for work at home stuff and anything that I'm a good driver. So I've heard that name before, and I heard you mention it before, but I just didn't hear what you actually said about it. So
being an Uber driver, you go through some hoops where they verify your driving record and run some form of background check on you and all that. But being an Uber driver has been something that's been a crowd pleaser for people. And what's neat about it is if they get in and they don't like it, they just quit. Because you're 100% an independent contractor.
Gotcha.
And the safety versus what a taxi driver goes through, which a taxi driver, think about how dangerous it is to be a taxi driver.
Absolutely.
At night, you may be picking up a complete UFO who could be a friend or foe. Drivers get robbed a lot, and they're in danger a lot. There are horrific stories where drivers end up hurt or worse.
Mm-hmm.
With the Uber system, by it being kind of like a closed universe, the drivers have reviews, the customers have reviews. You won't know who you're picking up, but you will have a sense of who they are, and the anonymity is peeled away.
Gotcha.
So it's a much safer environment for both the customer and the driver.
Well, that's a bit of a relief. So is it safe when they have an application online? Is it safe to? Would they ask for your Social Security number and your?
Yeah, Uber. You're in a closed system. They're running a background on you, which is why they need your Social Security number.
Gotcha.
And
So
it's not a lark. I mean, it's hard work.
Yeah.
And your car always has to be spotless. If you're not a spotless kind of person, you got to get your car spotless.
Spotless, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's a big help. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, good luck to you. And Keith is with us. Keith, you have an unusual situation. You're getting mail at your home not for you. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That's correct. I'm getting credit cards, not just the applications, but like the actual cards with other people's names on them. And the mailing address is correct. It's my mailing address, but it's, names that aren't me.
All right. So you got to be careful here because you may be a victim of what's known as synthetic identity theft.
Okay.
Which is where an individual uses your Social Security number but different names to apply, in many cases, for instant credit.
Okay.
And then the trail ends up coming back to you in a really nasty kind of way. I need you quickly to go on annualcreditreport.com.
Okay.
And I want you to pull all 3 copies of your credit file, Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, pull all 3.
Correct.
And see if any new apps for credit are showing on there for any of these issuers that are sending cards to your house in someone else's name.
I will do that today.
If you see those, Keith, you want to go through the dispute process to dispute those as not being your applications for credit.
Okay.
You also, in either case, should look at...
Is that something I do through the TransUnion and Equifax, or is that something I have to contact?
No, you'll do it through the credit bureaus, and there'll be a form with them to tell you how to do it.
Oh, okay, great.
The one other thing I want you to do is I want you to freeze your credit file, whichever way this plays out, from your initial scan of your credit reports, because it's not usually a good thing in any way when somebody is using your address in that way. If you go to clarkhoward.com, you can walk through the credit freeze guide and get your credit frozen today. Booker is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Booker, I understand you have a question for me about USAA.
Yeah, hi, and thank you for taking my call.
Certainly.
I really appreciate the work you do for consumers and to tell young people that the early decisions they make in their lives financially can benefit them later in life.
Well, thank you.
Yes, and my question is concerning USAA. My father, he served in the United States Army, and he served in the Korean War. Well, I called USAA, and they told me that in order for me to receive services from them, that my father had an account with USAA. Does that sound correct?
That is correct. That the children of someone who served in the U.S. military are granted membership even if they did not themselves serve in the U.S. military, as long as the parent who served has or had a USAA account.
Okay.
So is your dad still living?
Yes, he's still living.
Okay.
But he didn't have an account with USAA.
So if he opens an account with USAA, insures anything with them, then you become eligible. And once you're in, it spreads through the family tree.
Okay.
And USAA is so great. They're a massive insurer. They're a giant bank. And the customer service is legendary. And so your dad would benefit from being a USAA member himself. And then you, and if you have any brothers and sisters, they would benefit as well from then being eligible to be members of USAA.
Okay.
And thank your dad for me for his service.
I will do that.
I appreciate that. Nelson is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Nelson. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for taking my call.
Certainly, Nelson.
My question is regarding there's several identity theft products out on the market, some that will assist you in getting back to where you need to be, and some just offer alerts and
sort of thing. I'm just wondering what you think. You think those vehicles or those products are worth purchasing, or would doing a credit freeze be more advantageous?
Credit freeze is absolutely a far better step than doing any kind of credit monitoring at all. With a credit freeze, instead of you finding out somebody has applied for credit as if you prevent someone from applying for credit as if they're you. So a credit freeze is the best protection. It locks down your identity for credit purposes and is relatively cheap depending on the state and the circumstance. It can be free to do it. It can cost you as much as $30 to set up credit freeze. And when you need access to your credit, how often do you apply for a loan?
I haven't in probably 5 years or more.
How about applied for a new credit card?
I guess my wife did a month ago for a store card, but other than that, not often either.
Well, what happens is if she wants to apply for a store card and her credit's frozen, she will have to thaw her credit, which depending on the state again would be $0, $3, $5, $7, $10, just depending on whatever the state fee is, and then apply for that card. She wouldn't be able to register to make a snap decision to apply for instant credit. So it does have a temporary inconvenience, but on the plus side, you're not going to have anybody out there who is applying for credit as if they're you. And the value of that is so very, very strong.
Okay, now is that a per charge, like whatever the charge is when you apply, or is that a yearly charge?
No, for a credit freeze, it's a one-time fee to freeze your credit. A lot of people go 2, 3, 4 years before they have to apply for any credit anywhere. So at that point, you have to pay to thaw the credit report that they're drawing on. So it would cost you, again, $0 to $10 at that point to thaw. It is the cheapest peace of mind I know. Thanks for your call, Nelson.
Thanks for listening to the Clark Howard Podcast. Download new episodes every Monday through Friday at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com. Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One right after this.
AP Update. I'm Tim McGuire. A Department of Homeland Security official says hackers have targeted voter registration systems in more than 20 states in recent months. The disclosure comes amid concerns that foreign hackers may try to undermine voter confidence. That revelation also comes as a new poll shows people are concerned about the chances of voter fraud in the coming election. Diane Kepley with more.
Even though there is no evidence voter fraud is a widespread problem in the United States, only about a third of Republicans say they have a great deal or quite a bit of confidence that votes will be counted fairly this year. And a new AP NORC poll finds half the people who have a favorable opinion of Donald Trump have little to no confidence in the integrity of the vote count. But almost 60% of people who like Hillary Clinton have quite a bit of confidence. In a study by a Loyola Law School professor, there were only 31 cases of voter fraud in the 1 billion votes cast in all-American elections between 2000 and 2014. I'm Diane Kepley.
AP Update. I'm Tim McGuire.